So as Lindsay and I have mentioned, I think, what we take from this guidance is we don't view it as a set of requirements, although there is the risk that the DOL or plan or litigants might. But instead, what we think is this guidance provides a set of evaluation tools to use to evaluate the plan's missing participant search program and outreach program. And similarly, as Lindsay will talk about, on the service provider side, it provides a framework for evaluation. So I'm going to speak to observations for Plan Fiduciaries. So we think that you could use this best practices guidance and the second guidance, the guidance to the investigators, to try and identify what are the gaps in our missing participant program. Are we doing everything that the DOL identifies? If not, which of these suggested practices can reasonably be implemented? On the other hand, which ones are going to be challenging and problematic and not work? And I will just say, from my experience working with plan sponsors, many of these practices that the DOL suggested are not going to work for every plan, and they're not going to sort of work. And when I say work, I think it's be reasonable for every participant that is missing, every circumstance. And so we're not expecting that every plan is going to ultimately adopt all of these things. But the key recommendation is, if you can, go through an evaluation and figure out what is going to be reasonable, what is not going to be reasonable, and then document the choices of what you will implement. The next bullet point is an important one. What practices could benefit from a record keeper or service provider support? A lot of these things, in order to be effectively implemented, may be very difficult to administer in-house, and it may be necessary to work with a third-party service provider. Certain things that's probably especially clear, like uncashed checks. But even issues around searching for participants, ultimately, it may be that a plan just doesn't have the ability to do this work in-house, and this is going to be an appropriate use of a third-party service provider. But again, whatever is selected to be adopted, it should be documented, the decision-making of what to move forward. And I think a key point is this is a one-time evaluation, the first time, but it's an ongoing process, because that's a message that comes clearly out of the DOL's views. This is not something that can be done once and then forgotten. Instead, it has to be part of sort of the ongoing plan administration. Really quickly, before I turn it back over to Lindsay, some of the other things that come out of the guidance is that there's a lot of document review that needs to be done, starting with sort of making sure the plan documents say enough, the SPDs and other communications to participants about their responsibility in helping to provide information, and being clear about when benefits need to be taken and sort of the participant's obligation to update their address. But more generally, a key message, as Lindsay mentioned, one of the key categories is outreach. So it's not just searching for people, it's effectively communicating with them.